listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the program. We have a really cool guest. He is an old new friend, or a new old friend. It's probably a better way to say it. Jeff Sanders from Seekonk, Massachusetts, now lives in Florida. I had the privilege to be on his bag about a week before this recording. We're recording on a Monday night, June 23rd. And so I think it was last Friday that I caddied for him in a pre-qualifier for the U.S. Amateur. And he has game. And as it turns out, we kind of knew each other because we had common ground in the greater Boston area. Jeff Sanders is our guest. I think you're going to like his golf story, how he got involved in the game professionally, then got out of the game and regained his amateur status and where he's going with life. Fascinating guy. And anybody from Boston, especially with ties to the Country Club in Boston, is a friend of mine. And that's why we're wearing the squirrel, the logo from TCC in Brookline, Massachusetts. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, would you do so? Because that matters to the bean counters, the nerds at Spotify, at Apple, at YouTube, which is the real big one. And that goes a long way because ultimately that helps with algorithms and who watches the show, people that are regular viewers, but then maybe they can come over. You probably see that and hear that on another podcast, but please do it. Subscribe, like it, and maybe leave a review. And that means a lot to our title sponsors. Big thanks to Party Drinks, the title sponsor of Party Time, My Golf Story. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer because you feel like you're swinging around a beer and it makes you feel fat, then try a Party. Handcrafted cocktails for golfers by golfers. Transfusion, far and away, number one. And a big thanks to the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. Both Gene and Vince are based at Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from. And my next guest has connections to Lakewood National Golf Club, too. And if you don't have a party at your golf course, then get in touch with Paradise Craft Distributors. Paradise Craft is the exclusive distributor of Party across the state of Florida. All right, let's bring in Jeff Sanders. Hey, man, how are you? It's been like a week or so.
Kev, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Let me just start by just saying I really enjoyed caddying for you the other day. I hope I didn't mess you up too much when it counted. How did the attempt at qualifying for the U.S. Amateur go at concession for you?
You were great. You showed me around. You showed me the ropes where not to hit it, where to hit it, if I could hit it there. But no, that was a fun day, and I'm glad we connected. Your intro was perfect. You know, it's like we've been connected all these different ways, and it's always fun when you cross paths and you finally meet someone like that. So this will be fun.
Well, the world is small, and it's getting smaller in the context because of social media, because of electronic media and everything. But I like to say that golf double shrinks the world. So if golf is a big part of your life, and clearly it is for you, which we'll get into, and it is for me, you're going to bump into somebody you know, or even if you don't know them directly, you have mutual friends. And then if you take a place like the Country Club in Brookline or Concession Golf Club, bucket list places, it triple shrinks the world because you're going to meet some, and that's kind of sort of how we met. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the golf world, anybody that's been in it or worked in it, especially, caddy, PGA professional, it's amazing how small the network is. You can say that about a lot of things, but golf especially, I mean, it's who you know, it's brothers from another mother. It's a really, really small world. So yeah, it's a cool thing to be a part of.
Well, anybody that golfs is my friend, and you are my friend, not just because of golf, but that's a great jumping in point for stuff like that. But let me take you back to the beginning. You're a native of Seekonk, Mass. Give me a little
Yeah.
geographical lesson. I know where I think South Shore of Boston, but why don't you describe it?
Yeah, you said it right. We're exit 1 in Massachusetts. It's funny. It's right outside of Providence, Rhode Island, about 10 minutes outside the city. I've got a 401 area code, right? But technically I'm a mass hole. We're about an hour south of Boston. A lot of great golf in the area. The RIGA, Rhode Island Golf Association. A lot of those clubs there are sort of members of both. Grew up playing at Ledgemont, Crestwood, Wannamoisett Country Club, where I caddied and played. That was kind of my growing up around the game. Gotta love Providence.
Tell me about the old neighborhood. What was life like?
Yeah, fun growing up. I'm one of 5 kids, so big family. 4 sisters for me, so that was good. I couldn't get beat up. Well, Meg took a few swings at me, but for the most part, around 12 or 13, they couldn't beat me up anymore. But a really athletic family, right? My mom, it was before Title IX, but she was a 3-sport athlete at University of Rhode Island. So that would have been 3 D1 sports back in the day. My older sisters were all competitive swimmers and collegiate swimmers. My younger sister was a collegiate soccer player. I technically didn't play collegiate golf. So, I might be the worst athlete in the family, I guess. But a really competitive, athletic family. We took sports really seriously. And for me growing up, I played all sports. You grew up in the Northeast, you're a Philly guy, right? So like seasonality is important. We didn't really specialize like a lot of kids do nowadays. I'm 36. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But, in the winter, it was basketball. In the spring, it was baseball. In the fall, it was football. I sort of gave football up as I was getting into high school. And golf was always like the summer game, in between when baseball ended. Around middle school, golf really became my favorite. Never gave up the other sports. Luckily for me, I could replace golf with football because our high school football team wasn't very good. It was a fall sport for us where I grew up. And that was it for me. I love golf. So, but played everything growing up.
And that's good. And we don't see that so much anymore because there's so much pressure to play travel sports and everything. The parents are so invested in it. They don't just come and watch us every now and then. And, we're out of the house for a couple hours playing with our friends. And I think it's too bad. I mean, I yearn for yesteryear with when it was like that, because I'll tell you what, I just pretty much play golf in the summer and I'd had enough by the time, the season. I was ready for the next sport. Played football for a while. So I'm with you on that. Are there other golfers in the family too?
Yeah. So my mom's a great golfer. My dad's a golfer as well. But my mom's like a super athlete. So she's 71 or 72. She wins the net club championship every year. She'd say she's like a 16 handicap, but like you talk about a sandbagger, she's probably the best 16 out there. She hits it like a 2. But she's a great athlete. So yeah, mom, dad, grandfather were huge influences in getting me started. Started young, I don't know, 5 or 6, but started taking it more seriously in middle school. You mentioned a minute ago, like you'd play all summer and then, you're sick of it. You're ready for the next thing. For me, that was like childcare for me. There was a public course, Swansea Country Club, on the way to my dad's office. And when I was in 6th grade, they bought me a summer membership, a junior golf membership. My dad would drop me off at 7 a.m. My mom would pick me up at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. And like, that was my day every single day. It turned out to be a pretty cool thing. My older sister, Amy, she had some good friends who were on the high school golf team. And it was cool. They actually took me under their wing. They would go off first group. They tee off at 7. They buzz around in 2.5 or 3 hours. And they let Amy's little brother tag along and play with them. And they were good high school golfers. So that was like great exposure to me. And we did that 3 summers in a row. And that's when kind of everything started to change for me, and golf kind of became number one.
Well, that's how it works
for me.
Oh my gosh. I mean, what better place than to be at a golf course? You're around good people. There's a discipline that's involved in the game. If you're acting like an ass, somebody's going to let you know. Yeah. You learned etiquette, respect for the game, and everything else. And
I was trying to be cool around these high school kids too, So, I was watching myself. It was great.
Well, I think the good thing about golf, and it sounds like your place is kind of like where I grew up in Huntington Valley, PA, is if they saw a little whippersnapper, the better players, nobody big time to anybody. Mm-hmm. If you were trying to build a game, somebody helped them along the way. So you would be invited to join the group. And I imagine as you got older and better, maybe you pass that down and return that favor to somebody else?
Oh yeah, for sure. As I got into high school, I was really fortunate. Both my grandfathers were members at Wannamoisa Country Club. So like we scratched up and my parents joined there for my high school years, which was really cool. And we had a really good junior golf program there. I started kind of as a young guy, like a freshman in high school. And as I worked my way through, we had a great group of everybody within like 4 or 5 years of each other that we played a ton of golf together. And yeah, you know how it is. You're kind of learning the ropes of life out there with guys that are older than you. You're showing guys that are younger than you. It's golf's a great game. It's a really cool game to kind of learn your way around life.
Oh, no question about it. It makes you grow up fast, but in the best of ways. You learn different language, you learn business terminology and everything, all about the importance of relationships. Absolutely. The caddying part, I guess we didn't talk about that. Tell me about the caddy experience, what you thought of it and what it did for you.
Yeah. So caddying was the only job that I had until I did summer internships working and doing the PGM program. Right. So starting in middle school, I caddied every weekend. I mentioned both my grandfathers were members at Wannamoisa. So I caddied at Wannamoisa on the weekends, sometimes for grandpas, but usually just for other people who were influential. That was a really good gig. I remember my first loop. I caddied for Joe McKenna. He owned a roofing company. I'm sure Joe's still around. He probably still owns a roofing company. He's gotten a bit older now. And I did a single bag for Joe, and he paid me $40. I don't know what year this was, maybe around 2000. And I thought I was rich. So I started keeping track of this great log all summer to see how much money I made. But it was started as single bags, and you get that exposure and you move up to double bags. And pretty much every weekend. That's what started kind of what I wanted to do in the golf business. I knew I wanted to be the boss someday, and kind of translated that into the college studies at FSU.
Jeff Sanders is our guest here on Part Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from SuncoastDreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area and based at Lakewood National Golf Club. And a big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, if you indulge on the golf course, and that's just a way of life anymore with golf. Not so much when I grew up playing golf, but it's a thing. Party is the drink for you. So Wannamoisa, I know it, but I think it's kind of a little bit of a secret to those that don't know it. But how good is that place? And as good as it is, there's a little bit of grit in the neighborhoods around it. Why don't you take me there?
Yeah. So Wannamoisa, it's par 69 on 100 acres in East Providence, Rhode Island. And I'll tell you what, there's not a blade of grass on that 100 acres. You hear par 69 and you think, oh, that's got to be like a short, gimmicky golf course. Well, back tees, it's like 7,100 yards. There's a famed golf tournament there every year, the Northeast Amateur. I mean, it's considered one of the majors in the amateur golf world, right? But it is one of, if not the best golf course in Rhode Island, it's one of the best golf courses in Rhode Island, maybe behind like Newport Country Club, right? It's absolutely spectacular. Doesn't matter if you're playing there on Saturday or Monday morning, the greens are rolling 13 plus, and it's in absolutely spectacular condition. There's some grit there, right? I mean, hey, you're talking East Providence, so you've got some influence from the Italian scene, a melting pot of different cultures, and people come there though. They come from all walks of life, and if you've got game, there's a lot of good players there. It's definitely a players club too. Cool place.
And is it true? Area. Is it true you could look off a couple of tees and witness a fist fight going on in the streets, and that's part of the experience too? You get down Roger Williams Avenue, just left to 6th there. You don't know what you're going to see, but I played a fade back then, so it was a safe neighborhood. It was all good. Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about, so you talked about playing with the older kids on the high school team before you were of age. And I imagine that accelerated your golf. And I saw your golf. Your golf is really good. You told me you were knocking off rust, but I can tell there's a lot of game there. When did you break 80 for the first time? Do you remember?
I don't remember the exact round, but I know it was probably that first summer playing with those guys in high school. I was a good athlete, so I could hit it really good. I always was a long player, but I definitely wasn't a good scorer back then. So what I learned a lot from those guys was, even though we weren't necessarily playing matches, I was really competing and grinding about those guys. And as far as like good players, I had no other exposure to really good players. They're hitting it far, they're putting, making birdie putts. One was a plus handicap, the other was a 2 or a 3. So they were really good players. I definitely broke 80 for the first time that summer, and probably got into the low 70s. I don't think I broke 70 until probably my freshman year of high school when I was at Wannamoyset. So I had a few good rounds at Wani. It's par 69, so the score sometimes lies a little bit when you shoot.
Oh yeah.
Under. But
but that's part of the what makes it just different is because it's 69, but under par.
One par 5 though. Hey, you know what? You gotta golf your ball. It's got 4 awesome par 3s and then just one par 5. For us guys that are young and long hitters, we're looking to eat up those par 5s. You got one chance on 17. That's it.
Right.
So.
All right. When did you decide you were going to be a golf professional, and how did Florida State work into the mix there?
So Florida State was an easy choice for me, right? Kid from New England. I wanted to go far away. I wanted sunshine. I wanted to play year-round golf, right? The New England area, you know the area. You worked up there for a long time. There's 500 colleges and universities in the greater Boston area, within an hour of Boston. So all my high school friends, they all went to school locally within an hour, maybe 2 hours from home. I just didn't want that experience. I knew home was always there. Again, I had older siblings that went to school locally. They'd had good experiences. So I wanted to go far away. A pretty cool thing happened too. My older sister, Megan, she's child number 3. She bounced around a couple of schools and she landed on Florida State when I was a senior in high school. So she really opened my eyes to Florida State and made me feel comfortable going there. But yeah, it was Florida State, Clemson, NC State, Coastal Carolina, and Methodist were the 5 colleges I applied to, all PGM programs. And I got in everywhere, but it was a really easy choice to go to FSU. I mean, Florida, for a New England guy, it was just going to be a 4-year vacation, which was cool.
For those that don't understand the golf alphabet, PGM, what does that stand for and what does it mean? And ultimately, what did it lead to aside from great parties, warmer weather, sunshine, and pretty girls?
Yeah, it's professional golf management, right? So the idea is, and I know the major has changed a little bit since I was there, but look, the idea was you would do a 4-year degree. At Florida State, it was part of the College of Business. Other schools, it might have been part of the hospitality school. But you did a 4-year degree. You graduated with a 4-year degree, and you came out as a PGA of America member, which is a big deal, right? Because that really opened the doors to lots of great places. The idea, too, is you had to do internships throughout your summer breaks. So you had to work all summer. You're getting experience at these great clubs. The school and other relationships might help kind of set those up for you. But you were already building your network in college. And usually once you graduated, typically the way it would work is whatever place you worked at last, usually there was an assistant professional job waiting for you. That's what happened with me at the Country Club. That was my final internship spot. And that was sort of my foray into TCC and getting in there.
Well, when I think of the Country Club, TCC to insiders, I just think of it as a magical place. How did you get that internship, ultimately the job, and what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, we were talking earlier about how small the network is in golf, right? And very much so when you're an assistant, when you're an intern, the job you currently have and the people that you meet are going to get you your next job. That's just how it works. My first internship was at Newport Country Club. It's 45 minutes down the road from home, so it was close by. That was great. They set me up with the guys at Saucon Valley. One of their assistants was the head pro at Saucon Valley Country Club. You probably know it well, not far from Philly. 60 holes of just beautiful, beautiful golf. Have you played
stop.
soccer?
Just stop. Like when I played Saucon Valley, they used to have a pants-only rule.
No kidding. It's old school.
It is old school. It's great though. So my junior golf team in Huntington Valley, we showed up there. It's like an hour away because it's in the Lehigh Valley. It's in the Poconos. Yeah. And we were all in Bermuda shorts. And our coach was like, oh my God, I forgot to tell you it's pants only. We had to drive back and wear her husband's pants. I mean, I think I had his waistline up to my nipples. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And then we kicked their asses anyway. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, hey, cool. You get to play there in high school. I mean, what a spot. Saucon is, for people that don't know it, it's 60 holes of just incredible golf. Yeah. There, at one time, they had 3 golf courses in the top 100. So it's just amazing. So that was stop number 2 for me. At that time, the general manager was a gentleman named Gene Matari. Gene has since retired. And I had a great summer there. I played a ton of golf. I mean, that place was heaven for me. And Gene said, Jeff, you've done a great job. We would love to have you back, but you can really be successful in this industry. And the next stop for you, if you really want to develop your career, is going to the country club and working for a guy named Brendan Walsh. Brendan, I really didn't know anything about him at the time. I just knew the country club was a very highly sought after internship. So he connected me with Brendan, and, a lot of the way that these golf internships work is, your head pro, director of golf, calls up and says, "Hey, I've got a great candidate for you. This guy's going to be awesome." And they just hire you on the spot. Well, the country club, a little bit different. It was such a sought after internship that they had waves of interviews. So I got in for an interview because of Gene's phone call, but the rest of it was a series of interview situations, as they call it. And we'll tell some Brendan stories as we go. But for those of us who are in the industry and we've done, the head professional interview circuit, it was very much mirroring and mimicking the head professional circuit. They flew me in from Tallahassee. Okay. I'm going to stay 2 nights at the club. I'm interviewing with 5 other college kids. So 6 of us are there all at once. And we're going to spend basically a day and a half. We're going to have breakfast. You're going to do a shift out in the bag room. We're going to spend an hour in the hut with Joe Gully, right? Starting people on the first tee. We're going to do an hour range ring. There's going to be a 1-hour interview with Brendan there as well mixed in. So you're going to go through a series of interview situations. Then they take you out to dinner, and the whole time they're kind of studying you. They're getting to know you, and how are you going to fit in? When I was there were 7 interns. 4 of them were returning from the prior year. Well, 3 or 4. I think 3 were returning that year, and 4 of us were new. So 4 of us got hired out of a crop of, I think, 12 candidates that actually interviewed for the position. So, you talk about this. I was a junior in college for that first internship. Blew my mind. It was just such an experience. And you knew that this was going to be a real serious place. And it's all about professional development. And then on the personal side too, as you get to know Brendan, I mean, he really cares about his people, his team as human beings. And, I really grew up at that place. Did 2 internships there. And then I had an assistant job waiting for me when I finished the internships.
Well, and from there, but I want to go back there because there are good stories to tell about there. And Brendan, the Brendan Walsh golf tree, for those not in the know, is good. And it might be. I'm not going to say it's bigger than Bob Ford's golf tree, but it's just think about NFL coaches and everything. Anybody that's worked from Brendan goes on to bigger and better things, and you did, and we'll get into that. But Brendan is an interesting guy. The one-day member guests. He would always give a speech to kind of give you a lay of the land, the history of the club and everything. It's about 2 minutes long, but it's a very nice Cliff's Notes version of what's happened at that place over 100 years. Do you have a Brendan Walsh imitation? I want the voice.
Welcome to the country club. I'd like to tell you a bit about our club. That's how it starts, right? Tell
me this. Brendan's been a guest here before, and I did the imitation of him, and then I stopped, and he picked up where, because I had the speech down. Yeah. Did you guys ever do Brendan imitations like when he wasn't around? Just be honest.
All the time, right? But Kevin, I can't divulge that on this. I've got a reputation to uphold. No, Brendan. I mean, we'll tell some Brendan stories, but he was a really influential person in my life, right? I mean, I grew up around him. I grew up from him. He's very much like a John Wooden figure. He's got all the quotes, but he really lives by the decree that he's putting on his staff and asking them to be better. I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful person. Can't say enough amazing things about Brendan. He's really great.
Now, you also, aside from working there, doing the internships and then being an assistant professional, you lived on campus.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, 2 to 3 years I lived on campus. I was part of the final crew that actually lived in the men's locker room building. Now, for those of you who have been to the country club, yes, that's an original building on property, right? It's over 100 years old. And they had, if we can call it quarters, it definitely wasn't an apartment, but it was quarters on the 2nd floor all the way down the hallway. And they sort of renovated, would be a loose word, but they fixed up a closet, a very large closet, and they put a partition up, and we had 2 sets of bunk beds in there. So 4 of us lived in there, and we had a little TV room area. Kind of like unique part of it was we didn't have a bathroom in there. So we actually used the men's locker room as our bathroom. which is okay. I guess it's great at like 6 a.m. when you're getting ready for work. There's nobody around. But I'll tell you what, on your day off, when you went out in Boston and you're sleeping in and you roll out of bed at like 9:30, 10 in the morning because you really got to take a leak, and you walk down the hallway and there's Mr. McGillicuddy standing there getting ready for his tea time. It's a different experience, right? Honestly, a lot of times you'd like put on a golf shirt and your pants, so they didn't know if you were working or not, because you just didn't want the attention, you didn't want the comments. It was a really, really unique circumstance. But you think back of those times, okay, they weren't great living conditions, but it was an absolute blast. I mean, we would roll out of bed, walk down to the first tee, play as much golf as we wanted. So we did that every evening. We would just play golf. We'd play the racetrack. That's holes 1 and 18, goes around the racetrack. We'd play that all night until we couldn't find our golf balls, and then we'd go upstairs and go to bed. We didn't ever get into Fernando's stash. Fernando was a longtime locker room attendant. So we never touched any of his stash. We never got in his alcohol or anything like that. Maybe we took a few of his bar nuts once in a while, but no, we had a pretty fun time there. What a unique experience! Really neat.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You could have a real good time in Spartan living, and this whole thing about college and these swanky, like swagged out apartments and everything. It's just like, man, you're missing out. Like, my college apartments and where I lived, it's like we had like a beer mug as one of the legs on a couch that we trash picked and everything. It was like, man, that was like half the fun. Best time of my life.
Absolutely.
So from the country club, you had several more assistant pro jobs. Why don't you run through the list, and then we'll move on to leaving the game, so to speak. Not the game, but the professional part of the game.
Yeah. So, those in the business, they know kind of a typical calendar is, 2-3 years, maybe 4 years for an assistant at a place. Not that you've learned all you can learn at that place, but it's all about building your network. You're learning, you're taking your experiences, and then you're moving on to sort of the next step in your career. So I did 3 seasons at the country club. They were all amazing. At the time, my winter club was Calusa Pines, and Calusa in Naples was always my winter club. But when I was down at Calusa, I got introduced. Well, let me back up. My first year getting hired at Calusa, I was hired by the director of golf, a gentleman named Eden Foster. Eden was also the head pro director of golf at the Maidstone Club in Long Island. Eden hired me at Calusa, but then he ended up just staying at Maidstone year round that first year. So Mike Ballier, who's the director of golf at Calusa, became my boss down there. I got to know Eden through that process. He had an assistant take a head professional job, so he had an opening. Although I wasn't ready to leave the country club, I certainly wasn't thinking that was going to be my last season, but I had a great opportunity to get into the Met section, get to the East End of Long Island, which is some of the greatest golf in the world. Maidstone, Shinnecock, National, Friars Head, you name it, the list goes on and on. So I had a great opportunity to get into the Met section, work for, a Bill Strasberg Award winner in Eden. He's put out a lot of amazing head professionals, and another person that I learned a lot from. So I ended up moving on. I moved down to Maidstone and had a couple awesome years out on the East End of Long Island, which was a really, really cool experience. Extremely different than the country club, right? At TCC, we had a huge staff. We worked more shoulder seasons. Yeah, we were open during the summer, but as you know, people leave Boston oftentimes in the summer. So we had real busy spring, real busy fall, and we worked throughout the summer. Maidstone was a 100-day war, right? It's a summer club. People show up when the kids get out of school. We do junior clinics, do a ton of teaching, run the events. I mean, you're going 100 miles an hour. You're not taking a day off because you're trying to make some money. But man, you're really learning a lot as you go. Have you played Maidstone? Have you played much golf out east?
No, I haven't. I hope they'll have me at some point. But Maidstone is it's one of the oldest clubs in America, is it not?
Yeah, the joke there is you had to have family on the Mayflower to be a member. Yeah, right. That's kind of like the joke there. But yeah, really cool place. They renovated it, 5-6 years ago. They actually added irrigation, which sounds crazy, but if you're a links golf fan, places without irrigation are like awesome. They burn out and the ball really rolls and bounces.
Newport's like that too, right?
Yeah. There's Newport's like that. Shinnecock is like that. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. You get out east, try to play Maidstone. It's I would say it's, well, let me know. Maybe I can hook you up with Eden and do a friend for an old favor if you go out there.
That's
for you.
That's a favor that will be cashed in. You can count on that. Jeff Sanders is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, former assistant professional at the Country Club at Maidstone. Getting your amateur status back and leaving the business, hard decision or easy?
It was a really hard decision. Leaving the business, that is, right? It was kind of all I knew. I'd been a golf professional for 7 years. I'm a really loyal person. I was committed, and I'd just been having these thoughts. Anybody who's worked in the industry, you're working every weekend, you're working every holiday, every birthday. So you're missing all those things. And I'll tell you what, when you're in your early 20s, it's no big deal. You're doing what you love. You're around other young guys. You're having a blast doing it. You start to get to your late 20s, you've got relationships, you're thinking about getting married, you're thinking about having kids, and you just have that realization of, is this really kind of this schedule that I want to live? Nothing against that, right? But I was kind of having these thoughts. I was interviewing for head professional positions. I was in the final 2 at a club outside of Boston, and I flew up for the interview. I went through it. I think it went really well. And I just had this feeling. It was like an aha moment. I mean, I had these thoughts before, but this was like a really clear aha moment. And I thought, man, they're going to hire me. And I could be their head professional. I could do a good job. But in 3, 4, 5 years, I might be feeling this same way. So I landed down in Naples, Florida at Fort Myers. And I literally called them from the airport. And I said, sorry, I got to pull my name out. I'm not your guy. I appreciate everything. And I started looking for kind of the next phase in my career that day.
Wow.
But it was a really hard thing. But I did have that kind of aha moment, and then started the search.
Well, it sounds like it was kind of cooking and marinating in you for a while, as you said, and then it all hit you at once. And good on you to recognize it, like when it came to a head and you had the balls to pick up the phone and just say, I'm not your guy. I don't want to waste your time. And sometimes that's hard, like, especially if you thought you were the guy letting them down, but that's you knew in your heart that you had to do that. So you left the golf industry. What are you doing now?
Yeah. So now I work in the wonderful world of insurance, right? I know it sounds boring. Sounds very cliche for a former golf guy, but I'll tell you my story. It's funny. I have talked to a lot of guys that have kind of transitioned out of the industry. Not that I'm advocating for it, but I've got a lot of friends, and I'm always happy to talk to them and share my experience, right? Because it's a scary experience. So when I was leaving the industry, I was looking at a couple of different paths. But it was really important to me that wherever I went, they had a training program, a mentorship program. I've been really fortunate in my life. We mentioned Brendan Walsh, we mentioned Eden Foster, Mike Ballier, Calusa. We didn't talk Kittansett, but I was at Kittansett for a couple of years working with Pat Gunning. Been really fortunate to have great mentors in my life. Not that I've really tried and asked them for all kinds of help, but I've just been there, and they've been incredibly generous people to kind of share their time and their life with me. So I knew that was important for me going into a new industry. The company I work with now at Acrisure, Gulfshore Insurance, we're part of a very large network of the 6th largest insurance brokerage in the world, but we're a local office here. And when I was applying for the job, they were advertising this mentorship program with the gentleman who runs our office now. His name's Ryan Schmidt. And I was Ryan's shadow for about a year. I mean, I went on every single one of Ryan's meetings with him. He bought me lunch, 200 times, right? I owe him probably thousands of dollars for lunch, but he taught me everything he knew. And eventually I was sort of ready to fly. So I work in a commercial insurance. I do what we call middle market or large accounts. So it's kind of $250,000 in premium and up. So it's somewhat sophisticated buyer, but I'll tell you what, I work with a lot of condo associations, board of directors, and my time in the golf industry was like a perfect setup for that, right? Who's your typical person at a golf and country club? Well, it's somebody in their 60s, maybe 70s. Who's a typical board member? It's retirees who are in their 60s and 70s. They're all golfers. So it was a really, really good transition for me. Been with the company almost 8 years now. That's when I left the business, the golf business, that is. I'm a partner in the agency. So it turns out it was the best thing I ever did, but it was pretty scary, that first year or so to make that transition, make that jump. And now I still get to play a lot of golf. A little less now with an 8-month-old at home, but I still play a lot of golf.
Right. And you're on standby. I mean, there is a possibility that we're on diaper duty at any moment because your wife's away.
So my wife's away. She's in Miami. She's got the fun job. She works for Anheuser-Busch. So she gets tickets to all the fun events. She's on business across the way. And baby Charlotte she's out for the count. We're a little over an hour now. I got her on the Nanit, just listening in the background in case she starts to cry. We could be interrupted at any moment, but she's doing great. She's a good sleeper.
That's good. But if she interrupts, then we will just adjust. We've been interrupted before by phone calls. People like walking in my studio, dogs, but never crying babies. So we'll see.
First for everything.
Kind of hoping for it a little bit too. Getting your amateur status back. What was involved with that? It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. And part of me, I worked really hard for that PGA accreditation. Part of me wanted to hang on to that. At the end of the day, I couldn't play competitive golf, and I love competitive golf. I love it a lot more now that I'm an amateur and I've gotten older than I did when I was growing up, which is a funny thing. But yeah, it took me about 2 years to get it back. The way they do it, and parameters might have changed, but basically they say, when was the last time you were compensated in any way related to golf? So that could be earnings from a tournament. I played a little bit professionally, but lessons as well. So when was the last time you were compensated? Depending on how much you made over your career, how long you're a professional, they sort of start the clock. So for me, it was 2 years. I think that's pretty common. So after a 2-year stretch, I was back in the AM circles. It's been 6 years now. I've been back in the AM circles. Played in some Florida AMs, played in some Florida mid AMs. Haven't been fortunate enough to get through to a national amateur event. That's what we were playing for last Monday at Concession. You were pretty helpful with that. Hey, I hit it good. Missed it by a couple shots. I'll tell you what, we were texting afterwards. So it's 6th year in a row I've tried for the USAM. Never seen scores that high. Never seen scores that high. I was +4 and I thought I was out of it by a mile. I was chasing on the back 9 when I was 3 over, thinking I was totally out of it. And, made a couple birdies, couple bogeys back and forth. But I might have played a little differently had I known +2 was going to be the number.
Well, it's Concession. Until you play it and you realize how hard it is, you can start beating yourself up, and you may be pressing unnecessarily. But that everybody else is doing it because that course is so hard. But it's got what a great course to play.
It's awesome.
Tell me a good golf story. It could be just always brings the house down, always gets a laugh or something. It could be somebody at the country club. It could be another place, but just something that we could all appreciate.
Oh, that's a good one. Where do I start? Let me think here. You're catching me a little off guard. I think of celebrities that I've played with. Man, give me some help. Did I tell you one when we were out there last Friday?
No, you didn't. But yeah, let me help you out. Like, are you familiar with the Justin Bieber story at the country club?
No. Go tell me that. You have time? Tell me that one.
He brought the crew and everything, and it was it was something because he loves his golf. Anytime Tom Brady would come up and play and everything, that always the caddy's like, he's here. And from what I've been told, the guys that loop for him, it's one of the best loops ever because
that's cool.
He paid well, good player, was interested in their lives, busted balls, and you could bust his balls right back. He could dish it out, but he could take it. Yes. Isn't that cool? That.
All right. I think of one working at the country club, right? So we had a lot of celebrities come through there. Not that it was a big celebrity attractor, but it's a great place, right? I think of I've seen presidents come through, but one that's really cool to me being a Boston guy is a Roger Clemens story. So we've got the ladies one day member guest. And if you've been to the country club, you have sort of the big loop in the campus and you go all the way through the loop and you come out the other side near the bag drop. So the cars are rolling through. I'm working the bag drop that day as we all kind of would do when you got 100 ladies showing up. We're pulling bags out of trunks. And I can see out the corner of my eye all the way down at the beginning of the driveway, 100 yards away, is this tiny little blonde woman and a big giant guy carrying her bag. So, when you work for Brendan, you see somebody, you don't sort of wait for them to get close to you. You just take off running. So I took off running, to jog over to meet them. I had no idea who it was when I got over there. Turns out it's Roger Clemens. They had a car service drop them off at the front gate. Okay, you've been to the country club.
It's a long walk.
Woody's not a real guard. Okay. But the driver got spooked. He didn't think he'd get through, and they just dropped them off. So they walked up the road, across 15 into the campus. Anyway, I met him sort of in front of the clubhouse. I thought, holy crap, this is really cool. Roger Clemens. Well, his wife goes out to play in the event, and he's just there to hang out. He just sort of thinks, well, I'll just hit some balls. I'll have lunch, do my thing. He's wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt. So we got him outfitted. We got him dressed, let him hit some balls. We let him have lunch. I mean, he's the Rocket. He's a Boston legend. So anyway, there's a good one. Didn't play with him, but that was a good Roger Clemens story.
I like that you had to redress him appropriately because he was not properly dressed to hang. Of course. Come on, Roger. You should know better. Tell me about your wife, how you met her.
Yeah, we met, classic millennial love story. We met on a dating app, Bumble. We're both living in Naples at the time. If you've spent any time in Naples, it's not exactly a place to find love in your 20s. It's a retiree area. But, she was down here and we met through Naples. Funny thing about her is she was working in the sports marketing industry. So she really wasn't a golfer before meeting me, but her office in Naples, they ran the professional golf tournaments that were in Naples. At the time, it was a company called Octagon Sports Management. They ran the Ladies CME Championship. They ran the Shark Shootout, and they ran the Ace Chubb Senior Tour event that was in town. We have 3 professional tournaments here in Naples. So it was really cool. She meets me. I'm still working in the golf industry. Very, very small world as far as that goes. And it's funny how, they say you tend to marry somebody who's like your father. Her dad is, a retired insurance guy. I now work in insurance. He's still, darn near a scratch golfer. He's 70 years old, but he played golf at Florida Southern, came down from the north, came down from Ohio. So, a lot of my golf gets played with Bob on the weekends. Bob's still a good player, and they live in Lakewood National, where you are there. They're right on Piper 1. So great golf courses there.
All right. Tell me the insurance story about the broken tiles on off to the right. I know I'm responsible for at least one.
Yeah, this is great. So if you've played, Piper, and you have, but for the viewers, if they haven't played Piper at Lakewood National, awesome golf course. They've got Commander and then Piper. Hole 1 is a pretty tight, slight dog leg left par 4. Well, there's a pond on the left, and the right, just like many Florida golf communities, is condo buildings all the way down, right? Basically from tee to green. So my father-in-law is an insurance guy, and now he's on the insurance committee there. Well, the condos have been there, 4 or 5 years, right? They're fairly new buildings. They've never had any roof inspections. This is important to us as insurance people, right? We're thinking, roof tiles and things like that. They finally have a roof inspection. And if you want to guess how many broken tiles they had on those roofs, 2,000 broken tiles on their roofs. 2,000. And they knew it was from golf balls. You know why they knew it was from golf balls? Because 80% of the damage was on 2 buildings in about 150 yards to the 250-yard landing zone. Everybody's aiming left, not to hit it in the water. They slice it on those buildings, and you get broken tiles. So,
well, you have to know when you buy on a golf course, you have to know what the line of fire is. And roughly speaking, it's about 150 to 220 yards to the right because the prevailing miss is to the right. My in-laws had a place at Lely on the Flamingo golf course right there. And they had a number of broken windows and they couldn't figure out why. Well, I took a walk out the back door and pasted off to the tee. I think it was the 7th hole there. It was 185 yards to the right. I'm like, that's why. Did you even consider that before you bought this place? No.
It's a perfect foul ball, right? Nice little blooper. First tee shot.
Is there more joy in your life for golf now that you're an amateur?
It's funny. I've always loved golf. And when I think back to working at those clubs, I was at work a lot, long hours, still played a lot of golf, played in the evenings and stuff. I'll tell you what, the golf I play now is very different. It's not golf with members. It's not, trying to behave yourself. I'm a very well-behaved golfer, by the way. But most of my golf now, or at least until about 8 months ago, was 90% with my wife, listening to music, drinking beers. She works in the beverage industry for Anheuser-Busch now. So we have a pretty open tab as far as beers go. So yeah, golf is a lot of fun now. I'm a weekend golfer. If I'm getting ready for an event like that, I might sneak out a couple times in the afternoons during the week, but it's a blast. I look forward to it, have a ton of fun, and hopefully hopefully I can play for a long, long time and still hit it decent,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you go in and out of character. When it's time with the wife, it's time to unwind and just have fun. But I saw the competitor in you. I know you can switch gears.
I was knocking the rust off that day.
Well, you still hit it good. And then I told Brendan that I was on your bag. I said, man, he can really hit. He said, oh yeah, he can. So, we took that
a few
picture.
miles an hour, but it's still mostly in the middle of phase.
Oh, yeah. But what's your stock on your drive? Like 285 in the air?
It's probably 285 in the air. And then, it's funny though, if anyone young is listening, I mean, shoot, I didn't think about it in college, but man, I could move it in college, swing north of 120. Now to touch, 120, I'm not sure I could do it these days. I'm probably 116, maybe 118 club head speed. That's me getting after it now. So.
Yeah, you're long enough. Just hit it straight. You're good enough. All right, we're winding it down here with Jeff Sanders, former golf professional, one of my friends. We have mutual connections at the Country Club, and I looped for him before he had the pre-qualifier for the U.S. Amateur, and I totally messed him up. It's all my fault. Tell me this, Jeff. If you had one tip to give to anybody that always works, that could help anybody, what would it be?
So sorry, what was the question? Was it that works in the golf industry?
Yeah, no. If you had one tip to give that can help anybody, that you just seem to go to more often than anything else, what is it?
Yeah, so it's not keep your head down, right? That's not a good one. Number one, anybody who needs advice on the golf course, wait till they ask for it. Don't give unsolicited advice. I learned that as a golf professional. But the big one is, especially with beginners, is hit down on it. I can't tell you how many beginners that I would coach, and they see the ball going up in the air and they're trying to lift it. They're trying to pick it. They're trying to hit up on it, and they just keep topping it. Hit down on it at least a little bit, and you'd be amazed when you make solid contact, that ball spins and goes up in the air. So it's that. And then, once you're doing that, just make solid contact. Don't worry about where it goes. Let's make solid contact. We can find it from there.
Let the club do the work. It's a tool.
Do the work.
And last question, just the profound impact that golf has had on your life. Just a brief description. What does it mean to you, and what has it given you?
No, it's really enriched my life. I mean, I think of the relationships. Shoot, just meeting you, and now we're good friends. It's amazing. The people that you meet, the characteristics that you learn. The rules of golf are important, right? Calling penalties on yourselves, all these things. I grew up around the game, grew up on the golf course in a lot of ways. So it's really enriched my life. Hard to imagine kind of what my life would look like without it. I'm sure I'd be, a happy person, but I'm a heck of a lot happier with golf in my life. So yeah, very thankful for it.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Hey, Jeff, man, I think you might have a diaper you have to change here. I mean, Charlotte's done a great job snoozing through this boring ass interview.
She's a good sleeper. She'll probably have me up at 2 a.m. and I'll be changing diapers, flipping burgers there.
Whatever it takes, whatever she needs. Hey man, you're Mr. Mom. You're home alone. You gotta whatever that kid needs. You let her have it because she's a princess. Hey, it was great catching up with you. Let's keep in touch. And next time you're visiting the in-laws at Lakewood National, let's get it on. Let's get out and play a little money game. You up for that?
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll connect when I'm up there next. That'll be fun. We'll get out there.
Okay, cool. Jeff Sanders has been our guest here on Part T Time. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Part T Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try Part T. For golfers, by golfers, and try Transfusion. And big thanks to the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area, based at Lakewood National Golf Club. If your dream is to live on a golf course, nobody better than Gene and Vince to help you out. For Jeff Sanders, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Part T Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.